Want to welcome y'all back to the podcast, Revelation Through Conversation. I'm your host, Ken Brown, with my co-host.
Jay Brown.
Today's topic, breaking the silence. But before we get started, I want to introduce our special guest we have today, Miss Rilesha Bowles. She's the founder of Live Sis Foundation. She's a woman of God, a daughter, a sister, and a title I know she is most proud of, a mother. So, Miss Rilesha, introduce yourself to the people, man. Let them know what you represent.
Hello, hello, hello to everyone, to our viewers, to our listeners. My name is Rilesha Bowles, and I am so grateful and thankful and blessed to be here and to be a part of this podcast, this segment, the topic, but most of all, to be on here with my family. These are men of God, true men of God, true fathers. So I'm just grateful and thankful to be here, and as stated, I am a blessed mother. I am an entrepreneur, a women empowerment ministry leader. And I am also all the things that Ken said and more.
Okay.
So thank you so much for that introduction. And just to give more insight about what it is, particularly that I do, I empower, educate, encourage women, people in general, but most of all, women to know and to walk in their God given purpose. So, as you mentioned, Live Sis, it's living in victory every day, sisters impacting and serving. So, when we talk about Live Sis, we're talking about not just existing, but living.
Okay.
I like that.
Uh, can you just share with us what inspired you to start this foundation?
Yes. So, many years ago, when I recognized the calling that God had on my life, I gave him a yes. I didn't know what, but I knew it was to serve. And a lot of us don't really know what our purpose is. So the first thing that I learned about my purpose is that I'm here to serve God. First and foremost, first thing, I'm a servant of God. And when I'm serving people, I'm serving God. And
Mm.
I'm serving God by serving God's people, right? So
Mm-hmm.
being a servant of God, I knew that automatically. So then January of 2021, I'm 36. So at the time I was, I'm still young. I'm a mother. And at the time I was at church and I had been asked to lead the women's ministry. And of course you all can attest to this. Like when God calls you for your purpose and your mission and what it is that you're going to be doing, you're like me, because he wants to reveal to you not just your why, but also what it is that he's using you for. And it'll start to align and you'll start to really see what it is. And so what was going on is there were women that were coming to me for advice, to confide in, for comfort, for encouragement. And naturally, I realized that I have an innate ability to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just give you an example. I live next door to two women or three women, and they would all come to me and talk to me, whether it was in passing when I'm going outside or if I'm sitting outside and they come and talk to me. And so one thing that I started to realize is all of them were coming to talk to me, but they didn't know each other. They weren't talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the women, she said, you should start like a women's group or something. And I went like, okay, okay. But I didn't realize that she was saying you have purpose. Like you can do something that somebody else like and a lot of women that would come to me and talk to me, they would say things like, I feel so comfortable talking to you.
Mm.
Or I feel so, and I just thought that was the counselor in me. But in January 2021, when I launched Live Sis, it was something that I knew then that God had for me. And so, again, that goes back to say that we launched in January of 2021. It was January 29th. And 2 days before that, Kason and I were involved in a near death car accident, me and my son.
Mm.
And it was in the middle of a really, really um, highway that's known to be dangerous. And so God spared our lives. He covered us. He protected us. So then 2 days later, when I launched Live This, I stood there and gave my testimony. And I said, I know that God is using me for such a time as this.
Yeah.
And the enemy tries to take my life and claim my life. And that just let me know, that made me go harder. And so that's how I was inspired to be able to just give God my yes and step out on faith, stand in faith, and really hone in on what it is that He was calling me to do. And so, what started as a conversation on my back porch with my neighbor because of the
Mm-hmm.
things that she was experiencing, led me to really allow God to push me into my purpose and my calling.
Okay.
Love it. Love it.
And I want to ask you, because sometimes when the devil attack us, we'll fold. We'll back up off what
Yeah.
God is calling us to do. What gave you the strength to even go even harder for God?
So I just want to make sure that I am answering your question. You said a lot of times when we're on this journey that there would be things that would cause us to want to back away from what God is calling us to do. So you're asking what pushed me forward to go in it, because I realize it's not about me. I really had to sit with myself and understand the importance and the provision that God has for my life. You know, I think when it comes down, and we'll address this more with the topic, when it comes down to walking into your purpose, you have to take a look at what you've been through because it has prepared you for your purpose. And so I think that was the most important thing for me. I looked back at the things that I had made it through, my resilience, how I was able to overcome, and also noticed how some people were really inspired by my journey. I can recall a time when I was at church and I didn't feel like it was for me. And my mom went down during service for prayer. And when she came back, she sat next to me and she said, I know that if you can do it, I can do it. Do you know how that made me feel?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it made me feel like this is my mother. To know that I'm inspiring my mother because
Mm-hmm.
she's inspired me my whole life.
Right.
But to know that I'm inspiring her, I know that God is using me to inspire, motivate, and encourage others. And so it's not about me. I'm a vessel. I am a walking testimony. I am a servant of God before anything.
Yeah.
So I that's what continuously pushed me, because it wasn't just a yes and then I started going. It's been having to be a yes every day I walk up, every day I wake up.
Yeah.
I have to give God a yes every day because life is lifing, but God is guiding. He's Goding and He's Guiding. He's
Mm-hmm.
guiding you. He's always with you. He is God.
Yeah.
And so that is what motivates me and keep me going. I have to continuously give Him my yes in this thing. It is not about me. There are times when I go through things that I may feel ashamed of. Let me just be transparent.
Mm-hmm.
That I may be ashamed of, or I may feel like, oh, I could have done this differently or something. But just knowing that God is using my testimony to inspire someone else, it makes me want to keep sharing, keep going, keep growing, keep allowing people to see my transparency because God is still delivering me through it all.
Mm-hmm.
So during those times that I want to quit, during those times that I don't want to keep moving forward, I'm reminded that it's not about me. It's about God, and He has a purpose and a plan, and His plan will go forth with or without me. But I want to be
Part of it.
I don't want to be left out.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. All right,
Yeah.
man. Let's jump into the meat and potatoes of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, we dropped the episode. We recorded an episode last week, and the title was "Real Men Don't Abuse," and we wanted to just build on that, and we wanted to actually get a female guest.
Yeah.
And my brother, he shared with me that he was like, "You'll be the perfect person for this conversation." And like I said, the title was "Breaking the Silence,"
Yeah.
and we just want you to give your story. And I already know why you're doing this, because you just said, like, you know it's not about you. And you know that and you know that you breaking the silence today will help a lot of other women.
Mhm.
So can you just give us, you know, the story of what you went through and how you overcame it?
Absolutely. So, I would like to just start out by saying that um, once I started this journey of helping and serving women, God revealed to me that there are so many women that have been through what I've gone through. So that really motivated me. I've not told this story, and I knew that there would be a point in time where I would have to share my story. And so I'm so grateful to be able to do that. But I want to start by saying that when I stepped into ministry with women, I realized that there were women that have gone through so much of what I've been through. And it really, I won't say it shocked me. It it let me know how important my purpose and the work that I'm doing is. So I'll start out by saying that I also start out by saying that there are different forms of abuse: physical, emotional, verbal, sexual, spiritual, even financial abuse.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody know that,
Yeah.
but there are so many different forms. So when we talk about relationship and we speak about giving your heart to someone or going into a space where you trust someone, that you are in a vulnerable state, right? And I want to also make sure that it's important for me to say that abuse it can happen on either side. It can happen to men, it can happen to women, it happens to children. So my story starts in my childhood. Great parents. Let me say that. They worked hard. They loved, they provided, they were attentive, supportive, all of those things. But let's just be honest, we can't always have an eye on our children. Sometimes they're out of our eyesight, sometimes they're not around us, and we don't know what's going on. So it's very important to have a connection with children. But as I mentioned, that is the reason I mentioned that is because that's where my abuse started. It began in my childhood. So um, I'll say that there was sexual abuse in my childhood. So it started there from age 8 to age 12, 13. Um, and it was in the household. And then beyond that abuse, I grew up and started to experience relationships, right? Like dating. And when I started dating, I believe that some of the abuse that I experienced in my childhood spilled into my adulthood because then I didn't know how to set boundaries. I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. And in abuse, it becomes someone else receiving whatever it is that they're in search of,
Mm.
at the cost of the victim of abuse, right? Y'all know what I mean. So I
Yeah.
said that to say that when I got in my first marriage, I experienced emotional, verbal, physical abuse. And it started with verbal and emotional. And I was thinking to myself, like, we're getting to know each other. We're married. You're going to go through some things in marriage, and I would make excuses. Let's just be
Mhm.
honest. I would make excuses, not just for me and for myself to be able to make it through, but also for my husband at the time. So then things manifested in that, and then I divorced and I got remarried again, and then I experienced emotional abuse.
Mm.
And so from there, I just started to recognize and understand that I'm going to have to be the one to protect myself. I'm going to have to be the one to be able to identify my worth, what I deserve. I'm a woman of virtue, which means that I have something worth protecting. And so that's it, like in a nutshell. And you know, we can go into details, but I will say that verbal abuse is how it started. Well, childhood abuse, in my childhood, experiencing sexual abuse, and then um, verbal and emotional, and then turned physical in my first marriage, and then emotional abuse in my second. And so, yeah.
Okay. You said started in your childhood.
Yes. And it was someone that was really close to me. It was really challenging because you don't know, you don't, as a child, you may not feel like your voice is heard. I mean, just think about it. As a child, sometimes we tell our children, like, because they're younger, right? And so we tell our children, like, they say things to us, but they may not be able to clearly communicate, right? So you, as a child, you express certain things, or maybe you act out, and parents just don't understand. They don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think that that was something that really played a part in that. Not that I wasn't being heard, but that I didn't know how to clearly communicate. I was afraid. I didn't understand it because this person loved me. This person took care of me. This person was, you know, my protector. And so to be able to recognize that as an adult versus when I was a child, I didn't know what to do. And so speaking to my mother at age 19, things coming out at age 13. I think I was around like 13 when my mother, was pulled into giving communication, things like that. And now as an adult, even understanding how she felt at the time, because I felt like, I wanted something from her, I needed something from her. But as a mother now and being a wife, I know like that there are responsibilities and all this and all different things um in the situation, because I was a child, and her being a wife, her being a mother, but being brought into the conversation about what was going on with me at the time, you know the way she responded, the way she reacted, and things like that. So at age 19, I remember having a dinner, and I invited her over, and we had a discussion about it. And that was when I first feel like me and her really were on the same page about what took place. And I'm not saying she didn't believe me. I'm not saying she didn't care at the time. What I'm saying is I was old enough to communicate how I was feeling in that moment. When I was a little girl, I couldn't, or I don't feel like I did it in a way where it was understandable. Um, but at age 19, sitting down and having a conversation with her, and most importantly, letting her know, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
told her, I said, Mom, what happened to me is not your fault.
Okay.
Forgive yourself. I love you. I'm thankful. And then also, I think this is something that I need to say in black, no, in families, but mostly in the black community. This is happening. The movies that Tyler Perry put out, it is happening to a lot of us,
Yeah.
men and women,
Yeah.
because I've even dated men who have, or I'm talked to men who have said, like, this happened to me. So understanding that when they say things that happen in the household and we want to sweep it underneath the rug and all of those things, it's happening. And it has to be addressed because what's covered can't heal. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yes, it started in my childhood. And again, being in ministry with women, a lot of women have experienced it at the hands of their loved ones, brothers, cousins, fathers, stepfathers. Um, it is happening. It is happening.
It sounds like what you're saying is like when someone that you know that supposed to protect you and love you, does this to you, I can now see how women can be with a man that does the same thing. Because if you grew up as a child and the
Mm-hmm.
person that you looked at as being your protector
Mm-hmm.
and the person that loved you, and they betrayed you in such a way,
Yeah.
it kind of primes you and opens you up to receive this abuse from other men that you become, involved with when you get older. And
Yeah.
but how do like because you said something and like I said, this podcast revelation through conversation and like through this conversation, I want people to hear something that could help them.
Mm-hmm.
How could in real time when it's happening, a parent or a uncle or someone that's around their child in real time before the child turns 19 when it's happening at ages 8 through 12, how can that a parent or some of a loved one in real time stop this from happening? Or what? Because you said at that age you couldn't really communicate properly what was going on. But
Mm-hmm.
without you being able to communicate that, what is something that someone can look and see, okay, something's not right here, and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and stop that. And, before you get 19, like maybe it happens at age 8 and about age 9, they realize it's going on and they put a stop to it. Like, what is something, you can share with us that can, because like you said, it's happening and it's going to continue to keep happening. But man, how can we begin to put a stop to these things and
Absolutely.
realize it?
Yeah. Be proactive.
Absolutely. I think that is a really great question. And that's why I love y'all podcast, man. Like y'all gonna make us think, but y'all gonna
Mm-hmm.
make us take action. And I think that is a really great question. So I will say this, and this goes not just for abuse, but anything that as a child
Mm-hmm.
that they may be experiencing, you have to have a connection. One. And to me, the way that I connect with my son is through prayer. I'm not gonna lie. I tell Kason, like, we are talking to God.
Mm-hmm.
Say what you need to say to him. And most of all, introduce who God is to him. I ask Kason questions like, do you know God's voice? Has he ever spoke to you? How do you know he's speaking to you? What and so have a connection with your children, your nieces, your nephews, any children that you have around you that you love and care about, have a connection with them. And understand that I did have a connection with my mother. My mother worked, she was a hard worker, but she was there. And so we had a connection. So I'm not saying like that's the only thing. You know your children, get in touch, know when they're sad, know when they're angry, know when they're happy. And I think a lot of times we focus on the happy parts of our children because that's what makes us feel good as parents. Let's just be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But those times when they're acting out, lashing out, when they say things that you feel like you don't mean that, you just mad. No. Let's
Attached
really
to it.
talk
Yeah.
about it. Yes,
Yeah.
let's really talk about it, because there is something going on as a mental health professional. I know that our behaviors, our thoughts, and our words align. Let me say that again. Our actions, our behaviors, and our words align. And it's just like manifestation. You speak it. Well, it starts with a thought. You think it, you speak it, you walk in it, and it becomes your reality. So if a child is saying things like, I hate this, I don't like this, why I gotta go to Pawpaw House? I don't
Mm-hmm.
like going to Pawpaw House.
Mm-hmm.
Then you think that Pawpaw is strict, but make sure that your child is feeling that Pawpaw is strict. Y'all following what I'm saying? Like, because when you allow that space for a child to speak freely and you don't ignore them, and ignoring them don't have to be, I don't believe you. They can feel when you don't believe them. They can feel when they say something and it doesn't matter to you. They can feel if their words are important and they know when their behaviors are going to meet discipline. So like one thing for me, it is good to discipline is good always. However, have reasoning, have purpose, have structure, but most of all, have connection. So in real time today, the most important thing is to always cover your children in prayer. Teach them how to seek God, how to pray, because in them moments, like those moments that I'm not with Kason, I tell them if you get scared, take a deep breath and pray, because God is always going to be where you are. So make sure that they know that. Make sure that you connect with them. Make sure that you allow them to speak freely. Like, y'all know back in the day, like, we would say things as children. They'd be like, you can't say that. Don't say that. Don't talk like that. I try my best not to do that to him. Now, if it's inappropriate
Court. Yeah.
or bad language or
Mm-hmm.
something that needs to be addressed or corrected, I will. However, whenever he is crying, I let him know it's okay. Like whatever it is that you're crying about, you have a valid reason to cry. And he is really close to me. So sometimes it might just I'm able to identify when he's upset and crying because something is not going his way, or when he's really bothered by something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is very important. We have to be connected to the children that are around us, and we have to let them know that we hear them, we see them, they are loved, they are valued, and they are protected. I tell Kason, if something goes on with you and I'm not around, I'm the first person you need to tell, especially if someone say, don't tell your mama. Tell me those
Sure.
things. Those are the things I need to know. And also, when he's away, like connection is talking to them. When you have children, you need to know when they've been out of your care, when they've been around someone else. I don't care if it's at school. How was your day? Did anything happen? I ask questions about everything. When you go in the bathroom, and I something that I want to say, and I'm glad y'all are asking me this question, is because sometimes I don't get the luxury of other mothers who can just send their children anywhere. I don't get that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying luxury as in a way to get rid of my child. I'm saying not to worry. And don't get me wrong, the only thing that gets me through not worrying is prayer. But those are the people that know me know, if you when you see me, you see Kason. I'm taking him everywhere with me.
100%.
As I should.
Yeah.
I will There are very few people that I will allow Kason to go with. So be mindful of who you're sending your children with. Be mindful of who you have them around. Be mindful of the way that people handle them around you. Be mindful of the way your child respond and react to people when they're around them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like these things are important. So it those things are all those are signs. And then just understanding that for me, um I'm so mindful and intentional about Casey's relationship with other people. um I can tell, I can sense it, and trust your senses, parents. If you are around someone and you don't feel like your child is safe to go with them, or you just get bad vibes,
Yeah.
trust it
Yeah.
trust it. And it's okay to have conversation, and it's okay to talk, because in these schools now, it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
At relatives' house is happening. When children are around other children behind closed doors, it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Uh, we can't protect them from everything,
Yeah.
but if you have a connection, if you allow the opportunity for them to speak freely, if you let them know that they can trust you, if you let them know that you will protect them. I was watching a movie, and it had Halle Berry in it, and she would call her son her little, and she would refer to herself as the big. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, the big protects the little.
Mm-hmm.
The little informs the big. So let that be your standing point when it comes down to, and then if you see something, say something. Don't feel like you're accusing someone.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. This is your child, and you're the protector. Ask. I noticed this when my son came back from your house, or I noticed this when my daughter came back from your house. I just want to know, was there anything unusual that happened? I'm that. I'm gonna
I
ask.
Yeah.
got you.
I'm gonna ask, but I also don't want to project my fears or the things that I want. Because for a long time, I didn't. I felt like I didn't want to be a mother because I couldn't protect my child from everything because it happened so close to me. And but then when God blessed me with Case, and I realized like, no, this is for me. I will not be robbed of the joy of being a mother because of my fears. And so I watch, I'm mindful, I ask questions, I make sure that he knows that I am protected, and then I am connected with him and I pray over him.
Gotcha.
I got a question. Back to the childhood. You know, when everything started. Do you think it can be attached a child experiencing something like that? Do you think it can be attached to them growing throughout their, I guess you can say, teenagehood, or to the point of even dating? You think it's common for them, you know, to trust people too easily? You know what I'm saying? Like how their innocence was stolen, right? So you
Mm,
find yourself growing and you be like, you trust everybody's word because
mm,
some that's not normal happened to you when you was young.
mm-hmm.
So it's like you find your way, I guess, you find your way dating and moving fast in life because you trust everybody's word.
I, I haven't had that experience. My experience was the opposite.
Okay.
I really love what Ken said. From my perspective, this is someone who should have taught me. I won't say that. I will say this is someone who I trusted, right?
Oh, okay.
Someone who my mother trusted, who my mother left me with, who um was supposed to show me as a little girl how a man is supposed to treat me, honor me,
Gotcha.
respect me. And
Gotcha.
so
Good
with
example.
that, yeah, so like with that, personally, and I can't speak for every person that's experienced it in their childhood, but for me, I may have wanted to trust someone like later in relationships. I may have wanted to trust that person, but my trust was broken. It
Mm,
was broken.
gotcha.
And because my trust was broken, I didn't know who to trust.
Mm-hmm. Guards up.
Um, but it certainly didn't make it easy. As a matter of fact, I am still healing from trust issues
Right.
because the person who should have didn't. And then it repeated in relationships. And so then it caused me to start having problems. So I will say this, I don't have a problem with trust, but I do have a problem with knowing who I can trust. And so when you say trust easily,
Mm-hmm.
it don't come easily
But
because I don't,
that makes sense.
And so
That makes sense.
I really do feel like what Ken said, it is definitely connected in your childhood because then comes all these other issues, right?
Right.
So what I will say is misuse for me, because when a person abuses, they're basically, it's because of control.
Right.
Let's just get to the bottom line. It's
Right.
something that this person wants, and we all know we cannot control anyone, not even our children. They're their own, they have free will, they have choice. We cannot make them do anything that they don't want to do, right? We can
Gotcha.
ask them, we can train them, we can teach them, we can nurture them. But it came from that. So when it started in my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
it was this person wanting something or having a desire for something. And I know people be like, well, why a child? This is just that person's desire, whatever it is, to be loved, to be comforted, to be whatever. But it was that person's desire or whatever. And then I was there.
Gotcha.
I was there. And so it's a personal want or desire that becomes the victim's I don't want to say burden to carry, but
Mm-hmm.
their position to meet whatever their need or desire is.
Okay.
And so I said that to say that when it's someone that and that's why I felt so confused about it. I knew it wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
But then this is the person that loves me, that takes care of me every day. And so it's like
Gotcha.
there's some confusion there. And so now in relationships at times, friendships, all of those things, it's
All
like
connected.
I want to trust you. can I trust you?
Mm-hmm.
Should I trust you? And then that comes with growth because I've had to go through many years of therapy. I've been in therapy for 4 years now, learning who I am, learning that I am loved,
Mm-hmm.
and that abuse does not define me, right? Like
Yeah.
just because I've been abused, it doesn't mean because at one point in my life, I felt like I was damaged. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was, but, and I can't be discarded because of someone else's desire, right? I
Mm-hmm.
can't, it was them that did it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask for it. I didn't appreciate it, but
Right.
it is my responsibility to heal from it and to make sure that I still walk in my purpose. And that
Gotcha.
is a part of my purpose. It
Mm-hmm.
is. It is. And I'm gonna say this, and then I know we're gonna move forward, but I want to say that the way I came to that conclusion, I was in church service one Sunday, and this was after my divorce, and I had asked God, I said, God, how could I be married to someone who has a drug addiction, who um wants to fight on me, who wants to use me as their punching bag, who gets upset and can't control their anger and wants to put their hands on me, right? I said, God, I'm sweet, I'm loving. I know I'm not perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
I know I don't deserve this, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, that sermon was about purpose. I can't remember the title, but the minister that was giving the word, he said, everything that you have been through
Mm-hmm.
is attached to where God is taking you.
Mm-hmm.
If you would not have gone through those things, God wouldn't be able to use you for your purpose. And it hit so hard because that was my answer right then. I was like, I didn't understand it. Like, I love this man. I give him my everything, my all. I'm committed. I'm devoted. I'm dedicated. And the whole reason why I wanted to marry him is because he didn't have his family there to support him because of his addiction and his abuse and his like his anger. And so I went, I just want to love it. Like, I just want to be the one person that love him and stick with him and stand there and all the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that now what I'm doing in the lives of other women and family, I don't know that I mentioned, but I am in school right now to become a substance abuse counselor. And so God said, you have the wisdom and the experience. You made it through it. You went through it, right? Now you go to school and you get the knowledge and you help other women. And if you were not able to experience someone, because I've never had an addiction to drugs or anything like that, so I didn't feel like, but that doesn't make you compatible, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it is it's a part of your journey to prepare you for your purpose. And so when God revealed to me, like, how could you encourage someone who's been through it, or how could you encourage someone who's going through it if you hadn't been through it? Like,
Yeah.
how would I be able to encourage a loved one who is in a relationship with someone who has an addiction and they're experiencing abuse if I never made it through it, right? How can I let someone know? Because the person, my abuser in my childhood, had an alcohol addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So, how would I be able to help someone who's experiencing that? How would I, and so it all aligned for me. And it was like, you went through these things because one, I knew you could make it through, but also because I know that you're going to use your story to testify and pull others out of what they're going through or help them come out of what they're going through.
Gotcha.
So,
Hey, I got two questions. I
okay.
was just listening, and I noticed that you kept saying that the person that hurt you, you kept saying that they love you. How
Mm.
can you tie that? How can you how can you make that make sense if they did what they did to
Whatever they,
you,
yeah.
but you still can speak of that person saying that you know they love you? And my second question, you stated how you love the guy, saying well, when I was listening, when I heard, I was like, them red flags. But you
Yeah.
looked at it as, oh, I'ma love him through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just explain that to me. Why did you look at that as something okay to try to love him through instead of looking at those behaviors as red flags as something to run from?
But
Okay.
yeah.
That was a good question. Oh,
Hmm.
Lord.
Yeah, so yeah, explain the finding love out of the behind the abuse. Yeah, I
You like,
want
where's
to
the
hear,
love?
I want to hear that one. Finding the love out of yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so first and foremost, love is an action, right?
Yeah.
Love is shown. You can say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And me being a loving person and knowing what love feels like because I give love, I'm
Hmm.
able to identify when I'm loved.
Hmm.
But I want to say this: we can only love from the capacity in which we've received love and the love that we're taught. I'm going to say that again. We can only love from and this is not facts, this is just my perspective. Let me say that.
Yeah.
We can only give love from the love that based upon the love that we've received and the love that we've been taught. Okay, here's what I mean by that. Family, right? Family teach you, they're the first people to teach you, one, how to love and how
Hmm.
you should be loved too, right? Just think about that. Because these are the people that are in the household. Before you ever go to school, daycare, be exposed to other people outside the household, the
Hmm.
people in the house with you, your family, they are teaching you how you should be treated, loved, however, cared for, and then also how you should, because you're mimicking what you're receiving. You're learning by what you're being taught, right? So I said that to say, you asked, how did I know or identify that it was love from the person who abused me? Action. This person, they took care of me. When I say that, they fed me. They helped to provide a roof over my head. They actually shared, they showed up for me, right? Like, if I had programs at school, if I had things going on in sports or whatever at church, they were there. They took the time to talk to me. They were close to me. Um, think about a parent to a child, a father to a daughter, a son to, it was a relationship. It was a space that there was trust at first. There was, from birth, well, I was 2 years old when this person came in my life, and I was 8 when the abuse started. So for 6 years, we
Mhm.
built a relationship. It was, let's go outside and play. Let's go get ice cream. Go to the park. Love,
Yeah.
action, reassurance that if I got a splinter in my finger, I'm coming to you
Mhm.
and I'm gonna get that splinter out and I'm gonna kiss it, and it was there. So imagine the discomfort, the confusion, the harm, the hurt, the fear from being in a space where, because I can recall the first time, I'll never forget it. There are a lot of things that I prayed out of my childhood, like, God, don't let me remember, right? So I
Mhm.
can move forward. But there are just moments that I always remember.
Yeah.
I can remember the very first time it happened. It was me and this person at home by ourselves. And the way that it happened was as if, like, it was something that wasn't a bad thing. But I knew it wasn't a good thing because I wasn't supposed to tell.
Mhm.
That's why I said those are key things when your child say, well, I specifically tell my son, if somebody say don't tell your mama, please tell your
Yeah.
mama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did I know? I knew because the person has shown me love. The
Right.
person has shown me protection. The reason why it was confusing is because when it didn't feel like that, when it
Hmm.
didn't feel like, and back then I didn't know who I was and I didn't know, how to go about it. But there were situations where I had a friend,
Hmm.
a childhood friend that would come over, and
Hmm.
she knew what was going on. I had shared with her,
Hmm.
but she literally tried to help me out of it. And And what happened as a child was I asked her, like, is this going on at your house? And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and she told me, she's like, it's not supposed to be happening. But
Mm-hmm.
as a child, really having to question it, I knew it wasn't right.
Yeah.
But as an 8-year-old child, I'm going talking to my friend like, "What's going on in your house?" And she's like,
Yeah.
I never experienced that, and I wouldn't." But let me say this, because this is important. It didn't just happen to me; it happened to both my parents when in their childhood, and I don't know that I should put, but it did. So understand that a lot of these things that's happening is generations repeating.
Pass down.
Is
Right.
passed down.
Yeah.
And then also knowing that hurt people
Mm-hmm.
and experiencing abuse. But I didn't understand it, and I especially don't now because since I've experienced it, I've made myself more aware about it, and it just makes me want to be an advocate for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also understanding that some people don't have the same mental capacity as others. So whereas someone experienced it and they know, like, you don't you don't want to put that on someone else. Also realizing that, you know, it happened to me and it's happening. So then the second part of your question was in my marriage when I knew that I was there to love him through it, to not judge him, to not, because God told me.
Okay.
God told me. And a lot of people would fight that, like, God didn't tell you to stay in an abusive.
Oh yeah. Hey,
That wasn't
I'm
his
thinking about
word.
that now. Like, dang,
That
God.
wasn't his word. That wasn't his word. However, when we're on assignment and when you know you're on assignment, know that God is going to protect you through it, and also knowing that it's for a purpose and a reason. I can recall, and I'm letting y'all in, I'm getting deep, but I can recall the time that we were having a disagreement and I was put in a headlock and I was saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And then waking up on the balcony with my abuser standing over me crying, like thinking that I was dead. And I'm like, you're not going to call? You weren't going to call
Oh
and give
yeah.
me some covenant? But it happens like that. I really need somebody to hear that. It happens like that. It is serious. This person may not have thought that they were going to take my life. And it literally happens like that. Like somebody get angry or upset, and out of anger they respond, and then it's physical, and then that person's life is gone. I know y'all, we've heard it, we see it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why it's so important. But when you said how did I know to love him through it, like when we first
Hmm.
got married, the abuse was not there. I didn't know it. Like before we got married, I had never experienced it. Were there fights? Were there arguments? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But we're individuals, we're human. And so we're trying to become one. We're dating, we have good times, and then there's other things going on. And then we get married and we're in the household and we're there. The people closest to you, right? They get to see every part of you. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're in it. And then I am like praying and asking God when it happened. And that's another thing I want to say too. Because when it happens the first time, it kind of catch you off guard. You're shocked, you don't really know. You're like, you don't know how to process it. Like, okay, this person got upset and said some things that were hurtful. And then you talk about it and they apologize, right? You apologize, they apologize. And then it happens again. And maybe it's a push. And you're like, I didn't mean to push you. I just got, okay. And then it's a fist.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to hide from your friends, your family, and then that's when you really have to have that talk with yourself. And so I think that in all experiencing all of the things, praying, asking God to help me out of it, all the things, and then hearing God's voice say, I have purpose for you. That didn't mean nothing to me at the time. I was like, what's the purpose? Like,
Yeah.
God, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
But now knowing and understanding, having a knife held to your throat and wanting to, and me crying, looking that person in the eye saying, you can try to kill me, but I know God has purpose for me. I stood on that. When God told me, I stood on that. I stood
Mm-hmm.
on, I got purpose and I know God is protecting me. but he was also preparing me. And a lot of women wouldn't leave. And I just thank God that I had the strength to leave. I thank God that I was able to walk away from something that I knew if I hadn't have left, it would have killed me.
I have a question
Hmm.
on the, like you said, on the, there's many layers to abuse, but on the physical part, why is it so hard? Not just for not just for your story, but why is it so hard for women to leave? Like that first initial encounterment with the what strike or whatever.
Hmm.
Why is it so hard for a woman to just open up her door and just walk out of it and leave that situation altogether?
That's really good. That's really good. So one of the things that we do with Live Sis is equip women.
Mm-hmm.
We equip them, we educate them, we encourage them. Definitely from experience, I can say that notice how I said when I talked about being a child
Mm-hmm.
that it was fear, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
afraid. I didn't know what to do, didn't
Right.
know how to do it.
Right.
But then as an adult, when you're starting to have relationships,
Mm-hmm.
it may not be fear, but it becomes compassion. It becomes feeling like you can save someone,
Mm-hmm.
feeling like you're serving a purpose in that person's life. You're not looking at it like I'm this person's punching bag.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at it like this person is experiencing something and I want to be there for them. I can't speak for other other people, but I've had conversations with my abuser and they're vulnerable. And this may not be everyone's experience, but for mine,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to see what that person was going through. I was able to see um like when I would be loved on and when I would be like they would express their love to me, and and then comes the anger and the hurt and the pain, and I'm just there to receive it. So I think that in some situations and in some cases, like it's really about knowing who you are, knowing your worth, knowing um what you deserve. Because if you're not aware or conscious about it, then you'll put someone else's needs before your own.
Okay.
You'll put that, and then also you'll feel the void of what you're not giving yourself by what that person is giving you,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll make you want to stay because in some areas they're feeling the void that you're not feeling for yourself. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like you are um this person is giving you something. This
Okay.
person is filling spaces in your life where there are
I
holes,
got you.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're not whole in that area.
Yeah.
And so not only do you feel like I don't want to leave this person because I can see where their anger is coming from. Sometimes we even feel like, well, if I can just be nicer to them,
Mm-hmm.
or if I can just not upset them, or
Mm-hmm.
if I can just get myself together so they can see. But that also comes from people pleasing. I had to learn that, like, I'm here to please God, like, not people. Like, and when I really honed in on that and I really understood that, like, I cannot make this person happy. If they're not happy, because happiness starts from within, right?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot make this person happy. I
Personal.
cannot heal it. Like, it has to be. But I also realized that once I started to do that for myself, I realized that I didn't have to accept it. And a lot of times we don't want to leave because we feel like that person is there. And then if you don't have family, some women don't have family. Some people, I don't like to just say because abuse happens on both sides, but some people don't have anyone else. So if you feel like this person is always there, this person always has your back, it's just that they get angry and then they say spaz out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to leave that person because you don't want them to feel alone, because you know what it's like to be alone. You know what it's like for somebody to leave you, especially if you have abandonment issues from your childhood or things like that. But also when you don't see yourself the way that God sees you, and you need to fill those own voids by pouring into yourself, then you're getting something that you feel like if you leave that person, you'll no longer get.
Mm.
Nice.
That's a good question. It's a really good question.
Okay. You go, your childhood, you experience it. The first marriage, you experience it. And then your second marriage, you experience it. I want to know, okay, it does it happen the same way like in your childhood? This person showed you love first, and then came the abuse. Like you stated with your first marriage, it wasn't happening at first, and then it started. Did the second marriage go the same way? Like at first, it's all love, then the abuse comes.
So
Mm-hmm.
for me, no. Um, it came. What did they say? A sheep in
More
y'all
clothes.
help me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my second marriage, um, this person remained the same in my eyes. It was more so me. Um, I won't say that I abused myself because I know you like
No, I
how.
was gonna say before you continue. Before
Okay.
you continue, so you saying you saw the bad signs first, and you still just chose to carry on. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Okay.
what I'm saying is when I met this person, who I saw was who I saw. This person did not like, this person came in as, um, I had never experienced a man like this. My second marriage was with a foreign man.
Okay.
And so uh, he was a man that I never met a man like him before. Very smart, very charming, very responsible, spiritual. Someone that I could learn from, someone that I knew I could trust, And we had a relationship, we dated, we got engaged, we got married. And what I'm saying is this person was that our entire relationship. The part that became because it wasn't physical, he never raised his voice. So that's what I'm saying. Like my first marriage, where I could see the signs because he would get upset and yell or say things, and he would have anger. I didn't experience any of that.
Okay.
I didn't experience, he was well tempered, he was very mature, he knew how to communicate. Um, it was manipulation. It was mental. It was psychological and emotional to the point where you ever, well, I won't ask that question, but like I was giving, but I wasn't receiving, and I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was pouring, I wasn't being filled the way I want y'all to hear this clearly. I was getting something, but I wasn't getting what I deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the reason why I thought it was good is because of what I experienced in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I was being hit. I was being talked to
Mm-hmm.
disrespectfully. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't receiving any of that. So I felt like what I had was good. And it was still less than what I deserved, because that's what happens sometimes. We settle because we feel like we're not worthy because of what we've experienced in our past.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened with that relationship. And I know that I deserve to have communication with my spouse. I know that I deserve to have a spouse that was emotionally available. I would pour out how I felt, what I was thinking, and then I wouldn't get a response. Or they wouldn't pour out how they were thinking or how they were feeling. And so then it started to affect me psychologically. And I started to communicate that, and I still didn't get anything in return, but I still stayed. Like it was that. So it was definitely different from my first marriage, and the things that I went through in that. And I didn't even realize it Didn't even realize it. And then I just it was really deep. It was
I
really
got you.
deep.
I got you.
Yeah.
So, oh, good.
Oh, you got something, man?
Yeah, yeah. My question is, what I know we're my question is, what do you say to the woman that feel like her significant other, or boy, her husband or boyfriend, need them,
Mm.
but what they're receiving is like, what do you say to the person that find every excuse to stay they have every sign to leave? What they're receiving in their household every day, day in, day out. You know what I'm saying? What do you say to that person that's finding it hard to leave?
Um, I say the first thing is to be willing to accept your reality. Because sometimes we won't see it as abuse.
Okay.
We won't see it as something that we don't deserve. Maybe we don't feel loved. Maybe we don't feel valued. Maybe we don't value ourselves. Maybe we don't love ourselves, whatever that is. So I think that's the first thing to speak to and address the reality. Because a lot of times we see potential and we see what we want the men to be. We see what
Mm,
they are in
okay.
the voids, like I said, that they feel. So I think the most important thing is to be realistic, to identify what's going on, whether it's abuse or whatever it is, like identify it. Be willing to speak up and advocate for yourself. Be willing to get the help that you need. And me myself, I'm gonna provide support, and that's gonna look like whatever that woman is okay with. If it's just me being there to talk, because I do faith coaching. So if that woman is there and willing to talk and discuss, that's the first thing. Listen, but let them know that it's okay for them to advocate for themselves, for them to speak up, for them to seek help. There are so many safe havens out here. There are so many women that are struggling in silence, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you speak up, you never know. Like I said, when I started this ministry, I didn't know that there were other women that had experienced it. But when you speak up, you find community. So don't be ashamed. And I know it's hard because you're in that moment. So me saying this to a woman, it may not even resonate because a lot of times she's not even conscious. She's wanting to escape. She's wanting to be saved. That's what the thing. I wanted someone to come save me. That little girl, I had to speak to her and say, "You are you, God and you. That's all you got." But now, because I spoke out, because I'm able to share my story, I have community and I have support. And I have women that let me know, like, I've been through things too that I've overcome. So I say that, reality, be real with yourself. And the very first part of it is not going to be like me and being able to accept it, right? Like, because
Mm-hmm.
I see the purpose in it, but just being able to identify it. That's the only thing, like, to know, like, this is not okay. What this person is doing to me, I don't deserve. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be valued. Even the parts of me that are broken, even the parts of me that I need to heal, I still do not deserve this. So that's the first part. And then seeking help,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there are safe havens, knowing that there are people that are living in silence as well. So sharing your story. And then I say, and this is an encouragement piece that we need you all for, that men should be a part of the change. And the only reason why I'm
Part of the
speaking out to
solution.
men is
Mm-hmm.
because you asked specifically about how does a woman.
Gotcha.
So, as a woman and speaking on behalf of other women that I've come in contact with, just that men to be a part of the change by promoting honor. What you all do on this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
promoting safety, promoting accountability,
Mm-hmm.
promoting men to really take a look at themselves and to know that emotional intelligence is important.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to identify your feelings and emotions, and that's a whole nother topic for another day, because I know as men it's hard. It is hard to share how you feel, to identify how you feel, to communicate how you feel. But just knowing that you are helping to break cycles when you are part of the change by promoting honor, recognizing that it is your role to protect the woman that you're with, that you love. You show love by taking care of and being mindful of the way that you talk to, treat, handle, deal um, with care, and taking accountability. And being able to say, like, look, I don't really know, other ways to express except through anger,
Okay.
or I don't really know how to react when I feel this way. So that's why I punch or I do this or I do that. Maybe it goes back to their childhood. Maybe they didn't have someone to listen to them. Maybe they didn't have someone to say it's okay for you to share how you feel in this moment and work through those. So I say to men, and I charge men to remember the importance of promoting, honoring women, keeping women protected, and being accountable for your actions.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to respect your time, so we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. But I got another question for you. Are you are you healed, or do you believe this will be like a lifelong journey?
Yeah, so healing is an everyday thing.
Okay.
Healing is a continuous effort. Whenever I started my healing journey, I whenever I started my healing journey, I was faced with the reality of accepting the fact that something had happened to me that I had no control over, that is not my fault,
Mm-hmm.
and that the only thing I can do about it is to be responsible to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So that already is a lot to unpack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't do it to myself. There's nothing I can do about it
Hmm.
except heal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
then the question was, where do I start? How do I do it? I had to get to know me because all I saw was the broken, right? Like all I saw is what had been done to me. I didn't see not only what God was doing, but also how capable I was of healing,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just felt like I was damaged. I was broken. This is who I am. This is where I am. All I can do is accept where I am.
Yeah.
No. I realized like you can turn this whole thing around.
Yeah.
You can have joy. You can have peace of mind. You cannot be afraid that this is going to happen to your child. You can. So I had to give myself that positive self talk, but most of all, I had to seek action. Right.
Gotcha.
So I got into therapy. I prayed more. My relationship with God totally on this healing journey, the closer I got to God, the more I started to recognize who I am,
Mm-hmm.
the more I started to love myself. Because I used to look in the mirror, because I've seen myself with black eyes, right? I've seen myself with Bell's palsy, which comes from stress and all of those things, right?
Hmm.
But now, because of my healing journey, I see beauty
That's it.
for the ashes. I see value, right? I see all of those things that I wasn't able to see before I started this healing journey. And I've been on this healing journey for about um intentionally for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because I gave birth to my son. And that's when I realized, like, girl, you got so much to live for. Like, that was not your story. That was only a part of your journey.
Hmm.
Your story is being written by God. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much more to it, but you're going to have to heal. So every day I wake up, I thank God. I give gratitude for all of the things that I've been through and all of the things that God is bringing me through right now. So to answer that, it is a everyday thing. It is a lifelong journey because I am very sure that more challenges are gonna come, and with challenges come growth. And abuse is a challenge. It is challenging to make it through. It is challenging to push through. It's challenging to overcome. It's challenging to accept because it's not by choice. Nobody choose abuse, but it will build you, strengthen you, and it will bring resilience if you allow it to. So healing is an everyday, continuous thing, and you have to choose healing. Healing won't choose you.
Mm.
You have to choose healing, and you have to allow the space for it. And if you don't accept that you're hurt and that you need healing, you won't allow the space to heal. So,
My God.
yeah.
We
And
appreciate you.
hey,
We
one
appreciate
final
you.
question. I promise I'm done. Hey,
I'm here all
hey,
day.
hey, because we know that this has happened to a lot of women, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how would you instruct a man to love a woman that has been through this? Because, like I said, it's a lot of women that have experienced what you experienced and even worse. And they eventually do end up being somebody's wife. So, how would you instruct that man to love that woman?
Just like I said about children, connection is
Okay.
very important.
Okay.
Allow a space for her to be exactly who she is, because it takes a lot to carry on after abuse.
Mhm.
It takes, look at me breaking the silence finally.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot. And like the person that I'm in a relationship with, I always say this. I always say I don't need you to listen to me. I need you to hear me.
Okay.
It's there's a difference, because giving me a listening ear, I love that. I'm grateful for that. But when I speak to something that you cannot identify or you do not understand, if you hear me, then you'll be able to connect with me on a level that lets me know that this is my safe space. I can be vulnerable with you,
Mhm.
because sometimes I'm triggered and he won't understand and he won't know. But if I don't feel like you're going to hear me, I'm not going to speak on it. I'm not going to share it with you. I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to keep carrying on, because I've been doing it for 35, 36 years. When I was a child and I did it,
I
and I didn't
got
speak out to my mother. So now that you're my partner, you're my husband, you're my boyfriend, you're my man, if I don't feel safe, just like that little girl, just like that woman that was in an abused marriage where my husband at the time that abused me wasn't hearing me, if I don't feel like you're hearing me, I won't share, I won't open up.
you. I got
But also, too, be sure that you are reassuring her, especially if she's shared with you that she's been, be sure that you are reassuring her you're safe, not just by your words. We talked about the actions
you.
of a man,
Mhm.
but also by making sure she knows, like, you are loved, you are appreciated, you are valued, and I am here to protect you.
Mhm.
And just, I know it may not seem like you need to give that reminder, and I'm not saying say I'm not him, I didn't do it, because sometimes the way you say things too, but just making sure that it's like, I don't know if y'all ever seen like Tyler Perry movies where women have experience and they lashed out, or they have like they think back, like Woman Thou Art Loosed and stuff like that. Like, so being in a space with her, knowing that that was what happened in your past, I know that this is real to you, and I know that you are feeling this. You may be being triggered. So that's the part right there. Patience. Patience, encouraging them that they will heal from it, and allowing them the space to speak on it whenever they're triggered, or whenever they just have a thought about it, or so hear them. Really, really, really hear them. Not just being a listening ear. Be engaged with the conversation, because I guarantee you it's not easy for them to speak on it.
Mhm.
So even if sometimes it might be gruesome and we don't want to hear it, we don't want to hear it because it affects our emotions. And maybe even because you care about that person, you get upset just
Mhm.
thinking about what they went through.
Mhm.
But just knowing that your reassurance to them in that moment, that I understand this happened to you, but I am here. Even to say I am here and it won't happen.
Mhm.
It does something. It does
Yeah.
something,
Well, I'm not your
it does.
past. Yeah.
Yeah, like it does something. And then also, like I said, not discrediting them. I know that's real to you. I know it could even still feel real to you, and I understand it happened in your past. I'm here. I got you. So that reassurance, being patient, having compassion, and allowing them the space and
Mhm.
making sure that you hear them and not just listen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Love it, love it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man. Before we wrap up, do you have any lasting words you want to leave the audience with? Anything you want to promote? Any events you may have
Yeah,
coming
I
up
was
that you
to
want to
that.
get out?
Yeah,
Okay, so I definitely would like to encourage listeners who are interested, if they want to follow me. I am on Facebook. Our group page is Live Sis, LIVESIS, and I'm sure my cousins will share this when they post it, but LIVESIS, and it is Live Sis Academy on Facebook. So it's a group page, Live Sis Academy. And then our website is Live Sis Ministries. So it's LIVESISMINISTRIES, livesisministries.org, O-R-G. So livesisministries.org. Like I said, I have faith-based coaching. You can connect with me on the website. You can book a session with me through Calendly. And when I say faith-based, it's because, like I said, Lives is about building community. We host Bible study every Tuesday. It is a community Bible study. We dissect the Bible and we use scripture to apply to our daily lives. So we just
yeah,
finished a 6-week series called Women Who Thrive, where we learned about women in the Bible, the woman with the issue of blood, the woman who lived a sinful life. And then now we're in a series called The Purpose Woman, where we're learning about our journey, our crown. We talked about becoming a flexible queen. We talk about healing. So I would like that to be an invitation to any woman who needs community. If you are out there and you are experiencing domestic abuse, domestic violence, I ask that you will seek help. You can call the domestic abuse line, or you can reach out to me personally. My contact information is on the website. And if you want to build community, because I'm telling you, my sisterhood has brought me out of situations when I felt alone. And so that I would love for you to link with us. And we are breaking generational curses. We are also we're generational shifters. We're building off of a generational foundation that was laid before us, but we're also inspiring the generation that's coming behind us. So livesisministries.org. My name is Rilesha Bowles. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. And I hope that someone was inspired by this conversation and receive revelation.
Got you.
I appreciate. I appreciate. I just want to say thank you for being a
Absolutely.
part of this episode, and I just want to salute you for choosing to be victorious, because we can all agree that victim is a choice. No matter what we
Absolutely.
go through in life, being a victim is a choice, and you chose to be victorious. So
Absolutely.
salute you
It's
for
an
that.
honor. It is an honor. I am so grateful. It is an honor. It is, and I'm so grateful.
All right, man. With that being said, we're gonna close it out. Ken Brown, I'm out.
Jay Brown signing out.